What's that book you're reading?
It's about astronomy, black holes, planets, the Big Bang.
Not exactly a light read, but I suppose you like that kind of thing. Personally, I like to relax when I read.
It's just I read this article online the other day.
Uh-huh.
It was about this physicist. She discovered these things called pulsars, which are they're an incredible kind of star.
Uh-huh. She?
Yeah. Her name's Jocelyn Bell Burnell. She's a respected physicist. Well, that's the thing. That's what got me interested. There aren't many women working in that area.
But hang on, she discovered these stars?
Yeah, she was a postgraduate student at the time. But the guy who was her supervisor got all the credit.
You're kidding.
No, he won the Nobel Prize.
So, who did you say this woman was?
Jocelyn Bell Burnell.
But I've never even heard of her.
Well, no, that's the point. On this website, it talks about, it's got a whole lot of information on people like her. You know, people who work behind the scenes and don't get the credit or don't become famous. It was really interesting.
Yeah, I bet there are a lot of people like that.
I mean, she really is an inspiring woman. Even when she was in high school, they weren't going to let her join the science class.
When was this?
Back in the 1950s.
Really? Even in the 1950s?
Yeah. And then at the end of the year, she made it to the top of her class. And when she was doing her PhD and made her amazing discovery, she had a young child and was having to manage a whole lot of things in her private life, too. I mean, she was really determined, but in a quiet way. And then, when the newspapers wanted to interview her, they didn't want to know about her research. They just asked a lot of stupid questions about her height, her clothes, that kind of thing.
That's terrible, isn't it? So, is that a biography of her that you're reading?
Well, no, it's just a book about astrophysics.
Astrophysics? Just? So you're going to become, what, a scientist or something?
Well, no, I don't know. The thing is, after I read the article, I found an interview with Jocelyn Bell Burnell online. And she was talking about how even today, there still aren't many women who go into science and become scientists.
So now you want to go back to college and get a physics degree?
Maybe. But, why not? I've always been good at science, and I used to really enjoy physics.
But are you really prepared to study and put in all that effort?
Yeah, I think I am.
Well, you're motivated, that's for sure. And stubborn.
But I'm still thinking about it, doing some reading, that kind of thing.
Well, actually, good for you. Why not make a change? Take a risk. I admire that.
Yeah. Actually, that's what she says in the interview. Be prepared to take a risk. You'll probably surprise yourself. And she said something else very simple about women wanting to be scientists. Go for it. And I thought, yeah, why shouldn't I?
So, Allison, you went to find out about the 30-day challenge. What is it and how does it work?
Yes, I went to a one-day seminar about it. The basic idea is that, according to psychologists, 30 days is about the time it takes to really develop a new habit, because that's how long it takes for our brains to shift to a new direction. Usually, if we try something new, we give up after about a week or two because our brain hasn't adapted. So the idea of the 30-day challenge is you choose something you want to do, like drink less coffee, for example, and you keep going for exactly 30 days.
So if you manage to do it for 30 days and you feel good about it, you'll probably stick with it? Is that the idea?
That's right, yes. But the other thing about it is that 30 days isn't a very long time. 30 days goes by pretty quickly anyway. So if you decide to do something completely new, let's say you decide to get up every morning to watch the sunrise, maybe you wouldn't want to keep it up for your whole life, but it might be fun to do it for just 30 days. So it's also a chance to try something different, And if you're successful, it's great. But if it doesn't work out, it doesn't matter too much.
I see. So it's not just about giving up bad habits. The idea is really that you try out something new.
Yes, definitely. There were people at the seminar, for example, who'd written a poem every day for 30 days, and someone else tried to cook a different meal every day. So it's a chance to do something you've always wanted to do, or maybe something new that you'd never thought of doing.
It sounds like a lot of fun, if you have time for it.
Yes, well, you can either do something that doesn't really get in the way of your life, like writing a poem. You can do that on your lunch break, it's easy. Or you can take time out and try something you've always wanted to do, like paint a picture or climb a mountain or something. Obviously, to do something like that, you need to make an effort, and, of course, you have to give yourself a time limit of 30 days.
So it sounds like you think it's a good idea.
I think it's a great idea, yes. I came away convinced.
So are you planning to try the 30-day challenge yourself?
Yes, in fact, I already am. I decided to put my car keys in a drawer, and I'm going to ride my bike everywhere for 30 days, even if it rains.
And how's it going so far?
Really well. I'm finding it much easier than I expected.
And when did you start?
This morning.
Well, stick with it, Allison, and good luck. Now, Allison's only just started, but next up on the Life and Style podcast, we're going to talk to a few more people who have been doing the 30-day challenge. They're all about halfway through, and no one has dropped out so far.
What made you decide to become a vegetarian, Sophia?
Well, for a long time now, I've been trying to eat less meat, partly for health reasons. I think vegetables are better for you.
Didn't you ever think of being a vegetarian before?
Yes, but I always thought I'd miss meat too much. The idea of being a vegetarian for 30 days was really good because I could give it a try and then see how I feel.
And how do you feel? Are you finding it difficult?
No, I feel really good. Actually, I don't miss meat at all. So I think I'll easily manage the 30 days, and I might try to keep going longer.
Carla, why did you decide to draw something every day?
Well, I've never been very good at drawing, but I've always thought I'd like to start drawing things around me. It's one of those things that you think about doing, but you never actually do.
What have you drawn pictures of so far?
All kinds of things. At the beginning, I drew objects around me at home. Then I went out on my lunch break and started drawing things outdoors. Like yesterday, I drew a duck in the park. That was really difficult.
So, do you feel like it's been worthwhile?
Oh, yes, definitely. I'm still not very good at drawing, but it's been a lot of fun, and it's very relaxing.
Steve, what language did you decide to learn?
Well, I thought I'd choose a language that isn't too different from English, so I decided to try Italian.
Isn't it difficult to keep it up?
Yes, it is. I've had to be very strict with myself. I'm using a book with online support, so I usually try to cover one lesson a night.
And who do you practice with? Or are you just working alone?
Well, there's an Italian restaurant nearby, and I'm friends with the owner, so I go there and I talk to him. That's another reason I chose Italian.
And do you think you'll keep going after the 30 days?
Maybe. Or I might try a different language every month. I'm thinking of trying Japanese next.
Hey, Emma. That was a really interesting class. There's so much to learn, though. I'm going to try and get all my homework done tonight.
Oh, not me. I'm going out tonight. I'll do mine later. You studied too much, Susanna. Do you want to grab a bite?
Sorry, I can't. I have to go now. It's my first day at my new job.
Oh, that's right. At your friend's cafe. Well, good luck. Oh, by the way, when is that assignment due?
Friday. I've got to run. I'll be late. See you tomorrow.
Bye.
Hi, Tomas. I'm just on my way to the cafe to work.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry I can't talk now. I'm running late.
That's okay. Do you want to come over tonight? I wanted to work on our presentation. It's due next week.
I'd like to, but I have other homework to do tonight.
Okay, never mind. Well, good luck with your first day at work.
Thanks. I'm sure it'll be fine.
Don't spill coffee on anyone.
I'll try not to. Oh, have to run. Here comes my bus. No time to talk now. See you tomorrow. Bye.
Okay, so what was I showing you? The food. The sandwiches are over here. The most important thing is don't touch the food. Always remember to use these tongs to pick up food. And what else? Oh, the espresso machine. The coffee goes in here, the cup down there, and you press this button. Is that clear?
Okay, I think I'll remember that.
Another thing to remember is the tables. They're all numbered. It starts with number 1 over there and goes to 15. Okay, did you get that?
Yes, sure. I mean, I can count to 15.
Ha! I still get them mixed up myself, and I own the cafe. I should know the tables. Okay, think you've got everything?
Yeah, I think I got the hang of it.
Great. You'll do well. I'm really glad you're working here.
Large cappuccino, please, with an extra shot.
With an extra... Oh, Tomas, I wasn't expecting to see you.
I was just passing by. How's it going?
There's a lot to learn, but I think I'll be okay. Dave, is it okay if I take my break now?
Sure.
I'll make a coffee for both of us.
Are you sure that's okay?
Yeah, it's fine. You came at a quiet time. So what did you want to talk to me about?
Our assignment?
The presentation?
Yes, our presentation.
Of course. We need to start working on it.
Gina.
Most people at work think my boss, Michaela, is an inspiring woman who's had an amazing career. We work for a public relations company. She always looks very busy, and people find that impressive, but I find her to be a little arrogant, to tell you the truth. The other day, we were having a performance review meeting. She was reviewing me, and in the middle of the meeting, her cell phone rang. She answered the call and just ignored me. When she finished the call, she then spent a long time writing a text message on her phone while I was just sitting there, waiting. When she'd finished, she didn't apologize or anything and just said, "Okay, what were we talking about?" Maybe I'm being too sensitive, but she didn't seem to care about our meeting or me and was far more interested in her phone call and message. I really think people should turn off their phones during meetings. I was pretty upset, to be honest.
Derek. For years, I resisted joining any kind of social media. Don't get me wrong, I'm no technophobe. I use IT all the time. I shop online, I read news online, I do most of my banking online. But social media? It just seemed like a waste of time. You know, people putting all this information about themselves online. I mean, I didn't feel like I needed to see a lot of photos of people I've never met and probably never will meet having a good time. However, my niece Emma really wanted me to join Facebook. She said I was the only one in the family not signed up, and it's a great way for us to keep in touch. So she came to my house and showed me how it works and how you can restrict the kind of contact you have. I own a small firm of accountants, and she pointed out that joining LinkedIn was a good way for me to network and get more clients. I could see her point. So in the end, I joined both. And she was right. Social media is great for keeping in touch and finding out what's happening. I'm pretty careful about the way I manage it, so my Facebook friends are real friends, people I know in the world, and I don't post much stuff. But we got a very cute puppy and, well, I just had to share.
So when are you off to California?
End of next week. I can't wait to get away.
I definitely loved it when I went there last year. So what do you have planned?
You know, the usual things. Los Angeles first. I'll definitely go to Malibu.
Great.
And one thing I want to try while I'm there is surfing. I know there are some amazing schools you can go to.
Yeah, there are a lot.
I've always wanted to learn how to surf, and I'll finally get to do it, with real waves. So cool.
That's a great thing to do. I went to one of those schools.
And was it good? Did you learn a lot?
Yeah, I did. But you have to be careful in the water there. Actually, I got into some trouble once.
What, in the water?
Yeah, when I was first learning to surf, I went out one time by myself. I was trying to catch this wave, but I slipped off my board and, stupidly, I'd forgotten to attach a leg rope from my ankle to the board.
So you lost the board?
Yeah, I tried to get hold of it, but it got swept away by the wave.
So what did you do? Just swim to the shore?
Well, sort of. I started swimming against the current, and I realized that I wasn't getting anywhere. Then, very gradually, I got the feeling I was being pulled out to sea.
You were caught in a current.
Yeah, and when I realized this, I began to panic. So I waved to get someone's attention. Luckily, a lifeguard had already seen that I was in trouble, and he came to rescue me in his lifeboat.
I bet you were glad to see him.
Yeah, but the idea of being carried out to sea is really frightening. I don't think you could survive very long. I'm a strong swimmer, but even so...
Yeah, I think you'd start to really feel the cold in the water.
Well, I was wearing a wetsuit. But they say if you get caught in a current, you shouldn't try and swim against it. The thing is, the water there is ocean, not sea. The waves are really powerful.
Maybe I won't try it after all.
Surfing, you mean?
Yeah.
No, honestly, you'll love it. It really is the most amazing feeling. I just had a bad experience. I got myself a new surfboard, and as soon as I had some lessons with good instructors and knew what I was doing, it was great. It's just you and the board, and you have this incredible sense of freedom. And when you catch a wave at the right time...
Yeah, you're right. It sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Oh, but just watch out for sharks.
Yeah, Wait, watch out for what?
Miles, tell us about the story. What happened?
Well, one day in the winter of 1997, in eastern Siberia, one of the wildest and most natural habitats for tigers on Earth, a hunter named Markov came across a Siberian tiger. He shot the tiger and wounded it, and then took part of the dead animal that the tiger was about to eat. Of course, the tiger wasn't happy. It attacked and killed Markov, but it didn't do this immediately. It waited 48 hours before attacking. In other words, it remembered what had happened and carefully planned the attack. So while Markov was away hunting, the tiger found its way to his hut in the forest and broke in through the door. The tiger then took Markov's mattress outside and laid on it, waiting for him to return. When Markov finally appeared, the tiger dragged him into the forest and ate him, leaving only his boots. They found the boots later and figured out what had happened.
So these are very dangerous animals, obviously.
Yes, very dangerous if you make them angry. They're also not just any tiger. They're the largest species of cat on Earth. The Siberian tiger is a very impressive animal. They can be up to 4 meters long and they weigh more than 550 pounds. They can jump about 10 meters if they need to. So imagine a creature that's as active as a cat and has the weight of an industrial refrigerator. That's what a Siberian tiger's like.
So, what happened next?
Well, a group of men hunted the tiger down and killed it.
I suppose they had to, didn't they?
I don't know. Did they?
What do you mean?
Well, when you read the story, you're not sure whose side you're on, the tigers or the humans. As the author says, the tiger's response is logical, and the tiger is just trying to be a tiger. And it's a human who interferes with that.
So in a sense, it's the humans who are dangerous, more than the tiger.
In a way, yes. We think of tigers as dangerous, but of course we're not at risk because of tigers. They're at risk because of us. There are over 7 billion humans, but only a few thousand tigers remain in the wild. So they really are an endangered species, and that's mainly because of us hunting them and living in their habitat and taking away their natural food. What's interesting is that humans and tigers hunt the same animals and share the same environment, and they've done this in Siberia for years, but they don't normally disturb each other. There's no record of a tiger hunting a human being, but if you make the mistake of attacking a tiger, you're in trouble.
So is that the message of the story? Leave tigers alone?
Well, yes. And don't make a tiger angry, certainly, or it will take revenge.
Miles, thank you. You heard Miles Holman talking about the book The Tiger by John Vallant.
Oh, Esther, this is a nice restaurant, isn't it? I haven't had Korean barbecue before.
Well, Maya, I hope you like it.
Of course I will. It's good to try new things. Oh, here it is already. That meat isn't cooked, is it?
No, silly. We cooked the meat on this grill.
Oh, of course.
Maya, could you give me a hand with this plate, please?
Sure.
Could you hold it a little closer, please? There, thanks.
Wow, it cooks quickly, doesn't it?
Well, the grill is really hot.
Do you need all that sauce?
Oh yeah, Korean food is bold and spicy. There, I think that looks done, don't you?
Let's eat.
So, what do you think? Tasty, right?
Yes, it's delicious, isn't it? And spicy.
Hi, Maya. Come on in.
Wow, what an amazing apartment, Esther.
Thanks. It's all right, I guess.
Can I have a look? Oh, you have a great view.
Well, after you walk up 5 floors. I hope you're hungry. Have a seat.
I am. I just came from the gym.
You're so good about working out.
Well, it just helps me to relax, you know.
I think cooking helps me relax. Okay, so this is a new recipe I tried. It's Korean fried rice.
Looks delicious. And it is.
Oh, good. I'm glad you like it.
Ooh, it's spicy, isn't it?
I guess so. I'm used to it.
So, do you cook a lot?
Yeah, it's kind of a hobby. But it's more than a hobby. I'd like to do it professionally someday.
You'd be great at that. You should do it.
Oh, thanks. I hope it works out.
Well, this is great.
Really?
Yes. I would definitely order this in a restaurant. You really managed to get it just right.
Oh, thanks. Oh, I just realized I don't have anything for dessert.
That's okay. You know, there's an amazing ice cream place down the street.
There is?
Yeah, you haven't been to 2 Scoops? Oh, we have to go. It's my treat. Come on.
I love that you know where the best places are. Let's go.
I spent a year in Vancouver, in Canada. I loved the national parks there. They're very special environments, full of rare and protected plants and animals. This one particular day, I'd been exploring in the Pacific Rim National Park when I got in trouble in the forest. I'd been to see this waterfall. It was a very easy walk from the main trail, less than an hour. On the way back, I saw what I thought was a shortcut that would get me back to the main trail more quickly. A big mistake. After a couple of hours, I realized that I was going around in circles and I wasn't getting anywhere. I'd gotten completely lost. I was beginning to get worried, that's for sure. All I had to eat was an energy bar and I had nothing to drink. Well, I waited until later in the afternoon because then I knew the sun would go down in the west and I knew roughly I should be going in an easterly direction. And I had a little luck. I came across a stream with fresh water. I followed the stream for a while and I came to an open area, a kind of clearing. I knew that eventually people would start looking for me. I told the forest ranger when I would be back, and I was more than 4 hours late. And I knew it's better to sit in one place where you can be seen. So I was sitting quietly and thinking about how I could spend the night in the forest, and I suddenly had the strange feeling I was not alone. I looked around the clearing, and on the edge of it, I saw a bear looking at me. I knew that you shouldn't run away or show fear. I stood up and said in a clear voice, "I have a right to be here," and moved slowly backward without looking at the bear in the eyes. I could sense the bear watching me. I tried to keep calm, but inside I was really panicking. I was terrified. Suddenly, it started moving. Thankfully, it was away from me. It just disappeared back into the forest. I didn't know if I should stay where I was or keep moving. But then I could hear a helicopter in the distance coming toward me. I thought it might be looking for me. I jumped up and tried to see it, but it flew away before I could get its attention. It was so frustrating. But about 15 minutes later, it flew back, and I was ready. I took off my jacket and turned it inside out. The lining was red and easy to see. This time, they saw me and waved back. About a half an hour later, rescuers arrived and guided me out. What I couldn't get over is the fact that I was only 10 minutes away from the main trail.
Don't make mistakes in front of your teacher.
I don't really think that's the case. Teachers prefer students who try hard, make an effort. It doesn't matter if you make mistakes. In fact, it's okay if you do, because if we know what your mistakes are, we can help fix them.
Children learn faster than adults.
I guess you could say that children aren't as busy as adults. They probably have less going on in their lives, and that helps. They're less distracted and, you could say, a little more open to learning. But adults, well, they often have really good motivation. They can be very focused and they're really eager to learn. So this motivation can make them faster learners than children.
Practice every day in order to make progress.
Well, in my experience, you can practice too much. It's actually better to take 2 or 3 days off each week. The thing is, our brains need some rest. It's like muscles when you're doing physical exercise. You need to rest them. So we need to rest our brains when we're learning and practicing something new.
If something seems too easy, you must be doing it wrong.
Yeah, a lot of people believe this, but I think the opposite is true. In reality, if it's easy, it probably means you're doing it right. But if something's difficult or it's a physical activity that's causing you pain, then you could be doing something wrong. Learning doesn't always need to be hard.
Long practice sessions are best.
It's much better to have shorter practice sessions. You have to remember that most people get tired after about 15 minutes and need a short break. The thing is, though, during the 15 minutes of practice, you should really concentrate on what you're doing, really focus. You'll benefit more that way.
Sebastian.
Ever since I was first able to read, I've loved comic books and graphic novels. I just think it's an extraordinary way of telling a story. I've read literally thousands of them. At the same time, I discovered I was really good at drawing. When I was about 8 years old, I started copying some of the pictures in comics, and even my parents were surprised by how good my copies were. It wasn't long before I started making up my own stories. All of my friends were also really into comics, but none of them tried to come up with their own stories. But they really liked reading mine, so I'd share the comics I wrote with them. This was helpful because it gave me a good idea of what worked and what didn't. I studied design in college and then got a job as a graphic designer. But all the time I was writing and drawing my own comics for adults and children. I've just signed a contract with a major comic book publisher in New York, and I can now give up my job as a graphic designer. I think my career is beginning to take off. Well, I hope to do really well. 10,000 hours? You bet. I've probably spent more time than that, but I loved every minute of it.
Alma.
I'm a chemist, and I've been lucky enough to get a research position at a university. I love chemistry because it's all about the things that make up the world we live in. I find it fascinating. It's funny, whenever I say that I'm a chemist, one of the first things people mention is the periodic table of elements. You know, all the symbols for the different metals and gases. They can never figure out all those symbols. Well, I used a system where the letter or letters can be memorized by repeating a series of words that start with the same letters that represent each element. One colleague pointed out that this wasn't a very scientific way of remembering these elements. In fact, some scientists look down on this kind of thing, but it works for me. I find all these ways of making your memory stronger really interesting. And I think making associations to help you remember is really useful. I have to remember so much information in my research work, so I want to look into these techniques in more depth.
Henry.
I'm a musician. I play saxophone in a band. We're just about to go on a tour, so we're practicing full-time to get ready. We have so much to do before the tour. So much that it's getting us all down a little. Apart from needing to practice playing together, we have to write some new songs and learn others. I read about this idea of learning different things at different times of the day, so we decided to try it out and see if it'd help. So now we focus on writing new material in the morning, and we also use that time to learn the words and music of some classic songs we want to play. Actually studying the notes and remembering the words of songs. After lunch, we play together. Do the physical learning. And I have to say, it's working pretty well. We're putting in a lot of work, and we feel we're using the time well. The songs are getting easier to remember, and I think our playing in the afternoon is tighter. We're producing a better sound. The only problem is that some days we get a little carried away in the afternoon and keep playing into the evening, which means we stay up late and aren't very productive in the morning.
This week on The Book Show, we're talking about David Epstein's book, The Sports Gene, in which he claims that many sports professionals are so good simply because they're lucky enough to have the right genes. According to him, top athletes and other sports people are simply different from the rest of us. With us is athlete Barbara McCallum, who is a professional runner and trainer. Barbara, you've read the book. Do you think Epstein is right? Is it all about having the right genes?
Well, I think he's right that genes are important. And, of course, we all know that many Kenyans are tall and thin. And also, as the book says, they live at a high altitude, 1,000 meters, so they have more red blood cells. So these things are important. But I think there's much more to it than that.
You've lived in Kenya as well?
Yes, I've lived in Kenya. I've trained with Kenyan runners, and I've also worked with Kenyan children. And there really are a lot of very good runners in Kenya. But it's not just about having long legs. They also have a culture of running. Everyone runs, even small children. So they have this background. They all see themselves as runners, as good runners. And if you're poor in Kenya, becoming an athlete is a way to change your life. So everyone wants to be a runner.
And they run in bare feet. Does that help?
Yes, it does. It gives you a much better running technique, so that's important too. So, yes, I think it is partly genetic, but it also has to do with other factors, like having a lot of practice, encouragement to run, believing in yourself, and also learning to run in the right way.
So could I run as fast as a Kenyan?
Well, yes, you could, but you'd have to start early in life, and you'd have to get very fit.
Well, I haven't run anywhere for years, so maybe it's a little too late to start.
Absolutely not. It's never too late. Start training now, and you'll be amazed at what you can achieve.
Thank you, Barbara. Well, also with us now is Marta Flores. Marta, you've been playing tennis since you were a child, and you've been a professional player for 10 years.
Yes.
You've also read the book. Do you think he's right? Are some athletes naturally better? Or is it a question of technique and practice, as Barbara says?
Well, yes, I've been thinking a lot about this recently. I used to think that it was mainly practice and technique that were important. You know, if you practice a lot, if you get fit, if you improve your technique, then you'll win. But after reading this book, I'm not so sure. For example, I've played maybe 50 serious matches this year, and I've won about half of them. If I think about the people who beat me, they all have certain things in common physically. Short bodies, but longer arms, for example.
Like you.
Well, yes, I suppose so. And very good eyesight, obviously. And mostly aged 18 to 25. And these are things that you can't really change. So, yes, there is something in it.
So sports aren't as fair as we like to think?
That's right. And that's really what he's saying in this book. When we watch the Olympics, for example, we think it's a fair competition between equals, but it isn't. We're watching a competition between very different types of people who have different natural advantages. So there will be people who need to train very hard to get where they are, and others who don't need to train so much. And there will be some people who can naturally finish 40 seconds ahead of all the others, and so on. So fairness in sports doesn't really exist.
Lucas, we should have a party sometime. I was thinking of a dinner party.
Great idea. How about next weekend? There's not a lot going on, and I get off work early on Friday.
Yeah. This weekend would be good. Who should we invite?
Oh, I can invite my coworker Alexis.
I think you've mentioned her before.
You'll like her. She's super funny.
Great. You should invite her. Anyway, as I was saying, about the dinner party. We should keep it to 6 people plus us, so 8 total.
Oh, really?
That way we don't have to cook a huge amount of food.
Well, yeah, good point. I don't even like to cook. I can make nachos or something.
Why don't I do the cooking? So, to get back to the guests, we'll each invite 3 people.
3? Okay. Let me think. Alexis and who else? So, Martin, about the party, actually, I just had an idea. We should have more people over for dinner.
Well, I don't know. I'm not sure it's a good idea to have a big party.
But it'll be fun.
But we don't have a big enough table. We can only fit 8.
Oh, yeah, I guess. How does it sound if we don't sit down to eat?
Lucas, we're having a dinner party. Of course we're going to sit down to eat. So, to get back to the food, I'm happy to cook for 8 people, but you'll need to let me know if the people you invite are vegetarian or anything.
I wonder what Alexis eats.
Just let me know. I think we should cook things that everybody can eat. Don't you agree?
Oh, yeah. Okay. I can let you know. So, as we were saying, if we just invite 3 people each...
We'll have to invite your sister.
Really?
We have to invite her.
Okay, I guess we could sit her next to your friend Bill.
But he never says anything.
Exactly, neither does she. They make a perfect pair.
Who else? What about the other people you work with?
I can think of a few people. You know, another idea would be to have more people and not serve dinner.
I'd really like to have the dinner party.
Don't you agree that it'd be easier not to cook so much?
But I would like to cook.
Okay, that's fine.
Maybe we could all go out after the dinner party. How does that sound?
Well, actually, my friend Jason, the DJ, will be playing downtown. We could go see his show.
Yes, and we could always invite more people to meet us there.
Good idea. The after party. I bet Alexis would be up for that.